The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on iHeartRadio. If you would like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out about the other great programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, just visit our website at www.xzbn.net. This hour, we're talking about my favorite subject, angels. My guest this hour is Mary Ellen. She is the Angel Scribe, and she has written her weekly pet newspaper column, Pet Tips and Tales, for 15 years. The stories are filled with inspiration, humor, education, and heartwarming stories. She is also an award-winning photojournalist and the author of 2 books, Expect Miracles and A Christmas Filled with Miracles. 40,000 copies of her books have been sold. They are printed in English, Portuguese, Greek, Indonesian, and Korean. Miracles have happened to Mary Ellen for decades, and she has had her miracles stories published in 24 books compiled by other authors, and they have appeared in various international magazines. 7 of Mary Ellen's miracle stories are printed in Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Mary Ellen has over 1,000 inspirational messages she has scribed directly from angelic guidance, just waiting to be shared from her book. The impressive list of written accomplishments and personal experience explains her nom de plume of Angel Scribe. Joining me now from the beautiful west coast of Canada is Angel Scribe Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen, welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you with us.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be here and hopefully uplifting your readers with wonderful pet stories and miracles.
Well, I'm sure you will, my dear. For the listeners who may not have had the pleasure of hearing you before on the X Zone radio show on our networks, tell us about yourself.
I began writing in earnest in 1996 by accident. My mother gave my daughter a computer, which was unknown to us what they were really. It was sitting in the living room, and I went on to AOL and went into the angel chat rooms, and I do inspirational angelic messages. And I would share them one at a time, and pretty soon everybody in the room was sharing them with their friends. And then people started writing me about a month later, and they said, "Can I get on your newsletter?" And I thought, I don't have a newsletter. I just have a mailing list. And then the artist formerly known as Prince's webmaster asked me if she could print them. New Line Cinema asked if they could print them in their inspirational areas on the line, and I didn't know anything about the computer. I had to learn how to send an email, and pretty soon I had 50,000 readers.
My goodness.
Everything that has happened to me has been totally directed. I really feel when you listen to your heart, God will move you forward. You have no idea what's going to happen a second from now, a minute from now, a year from now, and who you will evolve and become.
I would imagine in this society that we are facing today, the angels are quite busy.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. How did you start connecting with angels?
I just knew in my heart they were out there. I believed in them. I couldn't see them. My friend Atira can see them since she was in a crib, but I just believed in them. I noticed when something really bad happened to me, like when I went into a foster home. I was only 3, and it opened my eyes up to new worlds, how people lived. And anytime anything bad happened to me, I noticed good things came of it. I understood from an early age that school was a learning situation. And then when I started to hear the angels, first you have to make sure you're not crazy, but the messages are so full of love, and that's how you can tell if it's an angel talking to you. Each message is love and caring and compassionate and uplifting. And with such a joy with these messages, I started to hand them out first as photocopies to people when I would go somewhere or sit in church until they'd spread around. And the more you use any gift, the more you practice with the piano, it gets sharper and clear. And one of the interesting pet miracles was when I was like, before I got on the internet, I was like 25. I was newly married. I'd met my husband, and we'd been married within under 100 days.
Wow.
And we went on our honeymoon, and we'd taken our 2 silver Persians, Camelot and Chanel. And the harnesses at that time weren't very good. And at 10 o'clock at night, Nimbus had, while we were setting up camp, slipped out of his harness and disappeared.
Uh-oh.
Now, this was a cat, it's terrifying. We lived on Vancouver Island. We'd had to take a ferry to the mainland. We traveled to the States, and I knew the stories about pets coming home to their people, but I knew this one couldn't swim a channel. So, and he was shy, he was caring, he was so loving. And so for a honeymoon, we spent the next 3 days going around the city, putting up posters, speaking to the radio stations, and all, putting notes up by the school, because, kids see every cat.
Sure.
And this cat was different. He was white with green Disneyland eyes and black eyeliner. Anyway, and we'd be out at 3 and 4 in the morning going liver, 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 because that's the only thing he ever really came to.
Yeah.
And when we realized our honeymoon was over and we were headed back to Vancouver Island, it was 4 in the morning, and I thought, this is my last chance. So I said, dear God, if you're out there, if you're really, really out there, please lead me to my cat. Now, we had scouted around this entire town end to end. So anyways, and then I put my hands to my side, and then I moved like a radar. I thought, I don't know what possessed me, but and here's my new husband who hardly knew me, and I'm turning in this slow circle. Please show me which direction to go, And, Rob, 2 invisible hands were placed on my back. And they turned me around to go down one street that we hadn't hardly gone down. And when we got to the end of it, the hands pressed hard on my right shoulder, so we turned left. And then we got to the end of that street. It pressed hard on my left shoulder to go right. We walked up a little hill we hadn't been up. And just then the sun came out, and like a magical story, the hands lift my shoulders, and I just thought, oh no, now we have to start heading home. And so I called him again, and he was probably 30 feet from me, and he came out from underneath a bush.
Oh my gosh.
What is that? What is that magic? To me, it's the angels. It was God answering my prayer. God can't be everywhere, so I believe he sends angel, which means messenger.
That is one riveting story.
Just another day in my life.
My goodness. So when did you do the transformation from writing about people and angels to writing animals and angels?
Well, I knew that pets are as interesting as people. And we live in this tiny town, Cottage Grove, Oregon. I'm just visiting my mother here in Canada to advocate for her. But I noticed the newspaper was in trouble. It was as if the editor at the time didn't love the town or the people. And so I drove up to the next town where the publisher manager was, and I took 14 things. Like if you did this article called like Golden Times, we could interview, you could interview somebody at a nursing home and find out why they moved to town and why they love town. And then I said, to get people of all races and ages reading, we need to take an interest. And so I listed off all 14 things. I mean, people in town have had miracles. We could do a miracle column, Yeah. I kept saying you. And when I got to the end, I said, in a pet column would incorporate elderly and young people and socioeconomic backgrounds. It covers everybody. So then 5 or 6 of their friends would want to buy the paper, to get up subscription and interest. So this lady known as the Dragon Lady, she's since retired, took her pointy finger, jabbed number 14, which was the pet column, and said, "Do this." And I looked at her because I'd written 2 books on miracles. I had the Angel Scribe flowing beautifully on the internet, and I always thought that was my destiny. And all of a sudden, here she's saying, "Do this." And so that was 15 years ago, and she said, "What are you going to call it?" And I'm thinking, 30 seconds ago, I didn't even know I had a column. And I was in a panic. I knew I wanted to educate people about pets, and I'm a punny sort of person. And so I said, well, pet tips, because every dog has a tip on the end of their tail that's white generally, and tails because they have the tip on the end of their tail. So I call it pet tips and tails, because I knew beside being educational and telling a story about an animal, I wanted to help educate people and children of the next generation how to better care for their pets and understand them.
I love it. Stand by. We've got to take our first break. Exo Nation, our special guest this hour is Mary Ellen, the Angel Scribe. Her website is www.angelscribe.com. That's www.angelscribe.com. And Mary Ellen and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Gwilda Wiyaka's latest book, The Science of Magic, Book of Mysteries, Volume 1, is the first book in a series based on her writings that open every episode of the Science of Magic radio show. Drawing on the subject matter of each guest, and armed with over 40 years' experience in shamanism, 35 years in alternative health, and degrees in psychology and religious studies, Gwilda introduces relevant and leading-edge information that supports spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Rich with wisdom and inspirational quotes packaged in digestible segments, this is a book that will pull you from cover to cover. It will also serve as a daily inspirational reading for years to come. The Science of Magic Book of Mysteries, Volume 1 is available at our website, tsompublications.com, amazon.com, and wherever fine books are sold. Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11? Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X-Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X-Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk. Exonation Mary Ellen is the angel scribe, and she's with us tonight talking about everything angelic. Of course, my favorite topic. Her website is www.angelscribe.com. So tell me, do pets have miracles like we humans have miracles?
They sure do. Well, they do. They have souls. We have souls. We're all connected. And sometimes they're miracles, would just blow our socks off. One thing that I remembered was this couple in my tiny town were camping, and they got on their camper and they drove to California and they stopped off somewhere else. And when they get over 1,000 miles out of Oregon, they see this kitten running around their campsite. This kitten had jumped underneath somewhere on the axle of their trailer and traveled all that distance to end up in California. And when I met them, they had moved back to Cottage Grove because they liked the area, and they still had that cat who is now 19 years old. Now, you tell me why that cat didn't fall off from underneath that trailer all that distance. It's amazing. And another story, it's my very, very favorite, will become your listeners too.
Okay.
Sister Mary Julia, she had a shelter, and people would come by and drop off their animals, and one day, and adopt. And the shelter's since closed. And one day, this elderly couple comes with a cat, a big fluffy orange kitty, and they didn't even give its name. All they said was their daughter had died. They'd taken the cat into their home, and that it wasn't acclimating. They just couldn't handle it. So they called up Sister Brenda, and she carried the kitty down to the catery, where the cats are usually placed in a cage until they became acclimated to the free roaming area, because they were always allowed outside. They had a safe area. And that cat pushed his hind legs against her like a bunny and leaped up onto a windowsill, and literally for the next 6 years didn't leave. If people came to look at him to adopt him, he'd give them the cold shoulder. He really wouldn't let anybody get close to him. He'd just look out that window and down the driveway. They moved the shelter, which was a mobile home, several times during the 6 years. And once when they moved it to outside Duncan, British Columbia, they had it positioned, and the cat couldn't see down the driveway, and it was so antsy, they called in the crew. We take care of our kitties and our dogs, and moved it so it could see down the driveway. Well, time passes, and one day this young lady comes up to the shelter, and, the car drove up. Sister Mary, the Mother Superior, looked out the window, and she saw crutches come out of the car, and then she sees this very frail young lady coming up the stairs, and she goes out to meet her in the parking lot, and she says, may I help you? And the young lady says, I've come to adopt a cat. Mine's died. And I was in the hospital for a long time, and my cat died. And so I've come for another one, and Mother Superior was really concerned. She said, can you take care of a cat? She said, yes, I absolutely love cats, and I miss mine dearly. So they walked over to the trailer, and the young lady climbed the stairs first and entered. And as soon as she entered, honest to God, Rob, that cat did his bunny leap off of that windowsill onto that lady's chest, threw her to the ground. Her crutches went 2 different directions. Mother Superior is horrified, and that lady's laughing. Well, I always cry here. That lady's laughing and hugging her cat. That cat waited 6 years looking down that driveway for his owner. The people who dropped him off were this lady's parents, and they had lied to Mother Superior, not a good karma, and said that their daughter had died, but she hadn't. And so they told the daughter the cat died. And Victoria is a big place. Vancouver Island's a big place. There's pet stores you can adopt animals from. There's pet shelters you can adopt them. But why did she drive out of Victoria, past all these other towns, down to Maple Bay, go to this one shelter where a cat had been waiting 6 years? If that's not a miracle.
That is a miracle. And that is a beautiful story. And what makes it so special is it's real. It's not fabricated.
And when I started to work on my book, Expect Miracles, and I knew about this miracle, I called up Sister Mary Julia and I said, I remember you telling me that story about 20 years ago. Could you tell it to me again? Word for word, she told me the same story. She cried, I cry every time I tell it on the radio. It moves my heart because it gives such hope to all of us. And having been in a foster home and wanting to go home, that story means so much to me, too.
We hear that angels, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, and the list goes on, manifest themselves at times to people. And they're always these angelic beings that we have seen painted and depicted by the masters over the years. Can an animal appear as an angel?
Oh, my gosh, you're reading my mind. My girlfriend Linda was down at the dog park, and in Vancouver, it has this, spit you can kind of walk out on.
Yes.
Anyways, one summer evening, she heard the most beautiful sound. There was a woman at the end of the spit, and she was singing Ave Maria. And Linda just loves music. And as she passed somebody walking by her with a dog, she said, aren't we lucky to be serenaded like that tonight? And the guy looked at her crazy and said, if you say so. She thought, well, I guess he's not social. And then she passes an older gentleman, and she said, can you believe that beautiful music? And he looks at her crazy and says, uh-huh. And she thought, well, that's a weird reaction. But she's so drawn to this beautiful voice. She and her 3 dogs walk out to the end of the spit, and the lady literally floats around and looks at her. And Linda just says, thank you so much for entertaining us tonight. It's beautiful. And the lady just nods at her and turns around. And Linda said that her dog stood there immobile, looking in the direction of this singer. And so as Linda walked away, she turned one more time to yell back, thank you.
Yes.
Lady was gone. But how many more minutes do we have left? There's part 2 and 3 of this.
Well, I've got 4 minutes. I've got about 3.5 minutes left in this segment. So we can do
I was
part
so
2.
excited. I wanted to type up the story for Pet Tips and Tales, my newspaper column. I ran back. I started typing it up. And, as I was coming home, I saw one of the shopkeepers that I knew had her back door wide open on an alley. And I thought, that isn't safe. So I parked and I went in. And when I get to the front of the store, she says, how did you get in? And I said, your door's unlocked. And she goes, oh, and she runs right past me without another word, and I follow her, and she has all the keys to both of her homes, to her brand-new Cadillac sitting in the driveway, to her other cars, and to her shop in there. And she reaches and she grabs her purse at the door full of the cash for the day. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And she says, you have no idea what you've done for me. And I thought, well, it must have been that angel story at the beach. So I come in, I type up the story. I'm super stoked. I go over to my friend Linda's house with the story to show her because she doesn't have a computer. And after we're chatting for a while, I get so antsy, I can't stand it. I said, Linda, I actually have to go, and I don't know why. She says, come on, you must know why. I said, I have no clue. So I ran back to the apartment. I come inside and go, oh, no. I had put something on the stove, totally forgot about it, spent 3 hours typing and visiting Linda, and the water was just draining out, ready to burn.
Man.
So that's one thing that I've learned, that miracles compound on themselves. It's like once you're open to them, you're really open to them. And the secret is to ask for them and expect them, and then to react on them. Don't just push them away.
So how often are you in communication with the angels?
I did a little prayer, because I'm a pretty lazy person. I'm a hard worker, but lazy. My grandmother said they get more done. And the prayer was, Dear God, please lead me to those that are in need, where I can answer something for them, where I can help them, and where I can say something, where I can be an asset in other people's lives. Literally, this is my life's goal and dream and desire is to be of divine use to other people. And Rob, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, "You just answered my prayer." It's just over and over and over, or "You're an angel," And like one day I was walking down the street here, and I saw this lady with beautiful, beautiful white, her hair was just turning a little bit white.
Okay.
And I thought, that hair is so gorgeous. So I sped up, and we got to the traffic light. I said, "Your hair is so beautiful. Don't ever color it." And she goes, "Ugh!" And I said, "What?" She said, just this second, she looked into the window and looked at her hair and thought, "Is it time I colored my hair?"
Oh, that is uncanny.
And I'm
That
not
is
like a
truly
psychic
uncanny.
person like, John Holland and James Van Prague and my friend Atira.
Yeah.
I'm just open to God working in my life.
You're just Mary Allen. That's who you are.
That's what I tell people. Just me.
Mary, please stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour for the news. X Zone Nation, the one and only Mary Ellen, the Angel Scribe, is my special guest this hour. Her website is www.angelscribe.com, and Mary Ellen and I will be back on the other side of this short break after the news. Don't go away.
Broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Demo.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is.
For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Mary Ellen is our special guest. She is the Angel Scribe, and she has also had over 1,000 inspirational messages that she has scribed directly from angelic guidance, just waiting to be shared in book form. The impressive list of her written accomplishments and personal experiences explains her nom de plume of Angel Scribe. This is quite a tribute to a resident of Cottage Grove that some may have thought of as just another housewife. Well, that is until now. Mary Ellen, thank you so much for joining us back here in the X Zone. I have to ask you, what has been the most awe-inspiring angel experience or angel miracle that you have been part of?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so many. When I was working on my book, Expect Miracles, I was working late into the night. I went to bed exhausted. My husband had made some tea for me. It was on the stove. I poured some. It slopped over. I thought, I'm too tired. I don't care. I took my cold tea up to the bedroom. I came down in the morning, and there on our stove was a perfect angel. She had a halo. She had a face. She had nose. She had a finger pointing to a book in her hand with little splattered stars around it. She had a dress with a frill on it. And I thought, oh, that happens all the time. I wonder what I do with it. So I called a neighbor, and she came over, and I called the local newspaper, and I said, you might want to come and see this. It's rather unusual. And so the reporter comes in like, yeah, let me see the angel on the stove. And he walks over, and he's like, oh, my God. And he turns to my neighbor, Frances, and he says, can you believe this? Can you believe this? And she goes very casually, oh, this happens to Mary Ellen all the time. And he looked at her like she was crazy because she was so non-reactive, but she was so used to it.
But describe this angel to us.
The angel was literally, I'll send you a link so you can actually put it up on your website. I still have a picture of her.
Well, describe it for our listeners right now.
She was 6 inches tall, 4 inches across. She was between the two burners. It was on a yellow stone, so the brown tea stain really showed up. And she was looking to the side, and in one hand, she was holding what looks like a book, and the other hand was pointing to it, like when you go, oh, look at that. Her finger was pointing to it. And she has longish hair. She had a halo with sparkles around it. There were sparkles around the book. And she had this long dress with a fringe at the bottom. It looked like friggin' artwork. It was so real. And it was a message to me that the book was going to be okay. So I thought, oh, I think this could be bigger than I imagined. So I went to the window and I said, dear God, if you bring me opportunities, even though I'm scared, like I'm even nervous on your radio show because you're such a big guy.
Oh, I am not. I'm just a little guy.
Even if I'm scared, I will step up into these opportunities. Well, I go back to the computer, flip it on, first email. It's from Wisdom Radio. Oh, and my worst nightmare was a live TV show and longer than, say, 7 minutes. So there's an email from Wisdom Radio that says, hi, my name is Jill. I'm going to be coming to the West Coast. Would you like to be on my show? And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty fast answer to that prayer. I said, okay. It was my first radio show. And then she goes, it'll be live for 2 hours. And get this, Rob, on the floor of the National Broadcasting Association convention.
Wow. That's cool.
And I had to show up, and I bought a button that said, trust me, I'm a reporter. I still have. But when God leads you places and answers your prayers, then you have to become the right hand. God can't always show up in your life or spirit or the universe. He sends angels. And sometimes the angels you. Sometimes it takes you to be able to like police officers. I don't know why I went down that street, they go. But all of a sudden, I went out of my way, went down that street, and either there was a car accident or somebody in need or somebody trapped. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I sure do.
And so you just have to listen.
Where do angels come from?
I don't know, but I don't know. When I had cancer, my friend Atira stayed with me, and I knew people around the world were praying for me, and somebody in Denmark had said she'd send me prayers. So that night, Atira stayed in the room with me because I'm scared out of the gazoo. The word is terrorized. And she goes, "Oh, there's angels in here." And I said, "Oh, where did they come from?" Just like you, thinking this one came from Denmark with a prayer, right? She got really quiet, and she goes, "They said that they sit at the hem of God, and they've come because so many people are praying for you." And I was like, well, that's good enough for me.
I guess.
And they lead animals. I remember when two dogs were lost once in Ohio, and there was a pet psychic giving a talk or a lecture or workshop. And just before it started, these two raggedy dogs, all muddy, showed up. And she went out and she talked to them. She said, "Where are they from?" And they said, "Well, we broke out of our fence and we've been running for 2 days and we're tired and hungry." And what was funny is they were at a spa, so they got the full makeup. And they said, "An angel told us to come here that you would help us." So I don't know if that answers your question, but good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough. It's good enough. So,
that's good enough.
Do you get?
And they say,
Do you get stories sent to you from all over the world about angels, miracles, and animals?
Yes, I do, and I appreciate it, too, because when we hear a story like you've just heard, to me it's like a log floating down a river. You can grab it when you're trying to drown. You're not trying to drown, but when you're trying to save your life, when you're feeling overwhelmed in your life or burdened or there's too much and you've been sucked into this river and you're floating down it, and all of a sudden there's a log you can grab to. That's what miracles are to me. Stories are miracles to me. They offer hope. They offer inspiration. They let us know our log's out there, and there'll be something that'll help us, too.
Does everyone have their own guardian angel?
I believe they have more than one guardian angel.
And how do people know who their angels are?
Some people hear their names. A lot of times it's your favorite name that you've always, let's say every doll you've ever had is called Susie or, Christopher, or.
I've got to share something with you right now. I've never owned a doll.
What'd you call your trucks?
I never had names for my cars or my trucks.
Oh. Yeah, and they don't really matter about names. My husband's angel has a really odd name, and I said to him, "Can't we get a better name?" And he said, his angel said, "Names aren't important. It's just believing that they're there." I want to tell you about one lady that she loves St. Bernards, and she was making Halloween costumes for them. And she needed a model, so she called a friend that had one about the same age as the St. Bernard she was making the costume for out of state. And so the lady brings over her St. Bernard, and while they're fitting the costume on it, she said, "Would you mind keeping the dog overnight?" She said, We're moving, and our new landlord won't let us have a dog. We'd just like to know if it would work with your family, or maybe you could learn about its personality to tell your other St. Bernard loving friends." And she said, "Oh, sure, no problem. It gives me a chance to try the costume out." And so that night, all the kids were fighting. "I want to sleep with the dog. I want to sleep with him. I want to sleep with him." She said, "Listen, let's all leave our doors open. He can sleep with who he wants." Now, apparently in the Alps, when someone's frozen or injured, a dog will lie on top of them to kind of keep them warm. So around 4 a.m, the dog goes over to the woman's husband, and he's scratching and scratching and scratching, and the husband's like, "Oh, my God, another crazy St. Bernard." He's pushing him away, pushing him away, pushing him away. So the dog leaves and goes around, jumps up on the wife's side of the bed, lies on her, and he starts scratching the husband again. And the husband's like, "What is it now?" And he turns over, and there's his wife in full diabetic coma.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and what are the odds that that dog came that night and saved her life and got a new home all in once?
Those are wonderful stories. And,
Thank you.
These are the kind of stories that people need to hear to give them hope, give them something to look forward in life, something to believe in, because in today's society, we need all the help we can get, and I'm sure that the angels are the way to go.
I think stories solidify our belief. That's why people love the Bible so much. It solidifies their belief. So, one other story.
We've got about 20 seconds before I have to go for the break. So why don't we do this? We'll continue this on the other side of this upcoming break, the final break here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, and my guest this hour, Mary Ellen. The X Chronicles newspaper is coming out this coming Wednesday. If you'd like to get your complimentary copy, all you need to do is go to xchroniclesnewspaper.com. And don't forget, for all the programming that we have available 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, just visit www.xzbn.net. That's www.xzbn.net. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and this is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the channel that you have us on right now, whether it's the X Zone Radio Network, whether it's the Talkstar Radio Network, whether it's the Mutual Broadcast Network, or iHeartRadio. We're here, and we're going to be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com. The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket, or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And, of course, the X Zone radio show is broadcast at different times during the day. To find out our broadcast schedule, just go to www.xzbn.net. Scroll down the page a little bit until you come to the broadcast schedule. And our code on that broadcast schedule is XZRS for X Zone Radio Show. Mary Ellen is our guest. She is the Angel Scribe. Her website is www.angelscribe.com. Now, let me ask you a question here. What happens to a person whose religious philosophy doesn't include angels? Are they taken care of as well?
Oh, I believe so.
Yeah.
I just believe so. Because there's people all over are talking about angels, and then people can change their mind at any moment. Just because you've been taught one thing doesn't mean that's the right thing. The right thing is to listen to your heart, to become strong in who you are, to listen to your own guidance. You know, it's that quiet time that we take that changes who we are.
Is your husband a believer?
My husband's very British, rigid, but he believes because he's seen it so many times. I remember when we first got married. Remember, we've been married in, it's literally under 100 days.
Right.
And before we'd say a prayer at a meal, he'd wait for me to shake, and he goes, "Oh, good, she's plugged in." I used to think he was more religious than me because he just took so long to pray. He'd just sit there and wait until I'd do this little shudder when spirit came through me, and then he'd say his prayer.
She's plugged in. That's cute.
Yeah. And I remember when he was little, his sister, who's 70, still teases him today about his invisible friend. And I'm thinking, she shouldn't laugh because that invisible friend has saved his life on numerous times, and my goodness, brought me into his life. He said a prayer over on the BC Ferry when he moved to Vancouver Island that he was ready to find someone, that he was alone, and he finished his college, and he had a career that he liked.
I see.
And he was unloading in his apartment, and the elevator went up, and he's pushing out the fish in his fish tank half full of water. And I heard the elevator open, and I was so lonely because I just moved there. And I walked out, and there he is. I had cats in my apartment. He had fish. We were the only two in the whole building with pets. And I invited him for tea, and like I said, we were married literally in under 99 days.
Wow. But because you said something here that I'm kind of confused about. You were saying, you said, I remember when he was little.
Oh, I remember stories. I'm dyslexic. I miss words every now and then.
All right.
I remember stories when he was little about his invisible friend. They always talked about his invisible friend.
Sure.
And when he met me that day in the elevator, he said to his invisible friend, to the rest of us, but not him,
right.
I think I've met my wife. And his angel had said, yes, you have. And I think that's one reason our courtship was so fast.
What words of wisdom do you have for people listening tonight about angels and how they should proceed and perceive their angels?
Well, I have an angel writing I've just pulled up. It's called Gold Under the Rainbow, and this is one of the channeled messages. We radiate our joy out to those who desire in their hearts to grow, to expand their knowledge of spirit and their very essence. It's a wondrous thing to awaken from your life like a sleeping beauty and discover you in the middle of it. So many are so busy doing so many things that they never truly saw or felt themselves involved. Then once one begins to look inward and see themselves and their involvement in life, the world takes on a new, clear, and richer meaning. To discover you, to discover the essence of you, to discover God, to discover the creation of all that spirit is involved in is discovering the elusive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. As you connect all of this together, enjoy your true wealth, the wealth you carry in your soul, not in your pocket. Money you only carry temporary. The inner knowing of God and spirit and all that is, you carry for eternity. And here you find your greatest joy, for that is what wealth symbolizes. To some, amen.
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 I'd like you to tell me about Peanut.
Oh, Peanut. Poor Peanut. He is a rescue dog. He was afraid of the whole world. Mm-hmm. And one day, Rossi's dad said, "Oh, let me take Peanut for a walk." She says, "Okay, but don't let him off his leash because he'll just run." He was a dog on the loose in Mexico. He'll just run. And so her dad takes him for a walk and walks him about a mile, and he's got good rapport with Peanut. And he thinks that it's okay, so he reaches a dog park, lets him off leash. Peanut darts across the dog park, darts across a major 4-lane road and into a huge subdivision in Vancouver and up the mountain. Everybody's thinking they're never going to see Peanut again. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. And then it's wintertime last year. All the frigid weather descends on us. It snows like crazy. There's snow everywhere. And this is a tiny little Chihuahua dog.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody's looking. Everybody at the dog park knows Peanut's name. Nobody can find him. And my friend brought in a pet psychic. That didn't help. She put her clothes in little piles where they thought they'd seen the dog. The only footprints they saw were coyote footprints and raccoon footprints. And she's thinking, oh, my poor little dog. And he's from Mexico. He's a Chihuahua. He doesn't have long fur. It's been 2 weeks. And then one night, a lady goes outside. I thought she saw something from her peripheral vision and went and checked closer. And there's Peanut underneath a bush. And so she calls her girlfriend over, and they corral Peanut and call my friend minutes later. So it was just a miracle. The dog wasn't eaten, and somebody found it and knew about the dog.
That is another truly miracle. But tell me, how have you affected shelters?
Well, what's interesting with my pet column in the Cottage Grove Sentinel is that people have read the stories. They'll be driving down I-5 to pick up the newspaper. They'll love the article. They'll go on to Facebook or ask to be on my e-newsletter and receive them. And as they found out our tiny community was drowning in unneutered cats and dogs, they started to send money. And we've received over $20,000 in donations for neuter and spay and injured animals and to help with the rehoming because there's just volunteers in our town and they've been overwhelmed. So it's just done wonderful things for our community. And the other thing is by the constant talking about a dog park, they one gentleman donated his land behind his car wash for a dog park. It was so popular. They're now, the city has just bought some land across from the high school for a dog park for large and a section for small dogs.
Geez, do they call the park behind the car wash the park and wash? You know, while your dog is taking a wash.
The park and wash?
Yeah, park and wash or park and wash, yeah.
Oh, I've got to let the city hall know that. That's a good idea. But I've always thought calling them the Bark Park would be good. But I noticed there's a business in Vancouver by Stanley Park, and it's called the Stanley Bark.
Yeah.
Pets make us smile.
Yes, they do. We've got 3 little girls, and all our children are growing. They take care of their own families, and it's nice to see them. But it's also nice to see them go home because they've left the nest, and that's the way it goes. But our 3 little girls, our 3 little dogs, they are our kids, and I'll tell you something. They are special. They are very special, and animals give you unconditional love.
It's their souls.
Yeah.
When you look in their eyes, you know there's a thinking, loving, compassionate, caring animal. And even if they've come from horrific conditions like these rescues, you take them in their home, all they want to do is give you love, Rod.
That's right. Oh, I know that. I know that to be true. I know that to be true.
Do we have much time left?
About a minute and a half.
Oh, darn. Okay, I'll tell you real quick.
All right,
so one of my friend's cats stood up on the back of her couch. He had been sleeping. Pope Francis came on at Christmas time, And that cat sat straight up, lifted its paw up like a little Boy Scout. The entire time Pope Francis talked. And when he was done, the cat laid down and curled up again.
Well, that can be interpreted quite a few ways.
Well, the gentleman ended up being very sick shortly thereafter, and it was almost like the cat was accepting prayers. And then the gentleman recovered. So, I don't know. I'm a believer.
I am too, but what about coincidence? What about synchronicities? Where do they come in? And do we put everything to faith where common sense can be implied?
I don't know. Aren't we out of time?
I
believe in synchronicities. That's when God brings moments of divine time together for something beautiful to happen.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, Mary Ellen. Continued success. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Mary Ellen, visit her website at www.angelscribe.com. www.angelscribe.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always find out what is on air at any time, day or night, here on the X Zone Broadcast Network by going to our website, www.xzbn.net. And I'd like to say hello to all our listeners listening to us on AM 1600 and KOHI in the beautiful state of Oregon. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. I'll be back. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com.
Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com.
Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.